6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
How about we do it again?
6, 7, 4, 3, 2, 1. I think I followed it.
Okay, let's try one more
I
time.
definitely didn't.
Ready?
I can't move you. Making review. Making review.
Say 6,
6,
5.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to the 42nd episode of Rank and Review, and we have our Rank and Review champion, Karen Giese, returning, and we are going back to sci-fi scares. I usually put typical warnings out for the episodes. I say there's going to be some coarse language and there's going to be spoilers for the movies discussed, but there's also some genuine conflict between Karen and myself, so be warned. I hope you enjoy it. Please seek out Rank and Review on Facebook and on iTunes. You can find my website at rankandreview.ca. Please do send me feedback at rankandreview@gmail.com and tell a fellow film nerd that you know this podcast called Rank and Review and that it's been waiting for them. Thank you so much for listening. So this is the 42nd episode of Rank and Review. And we're back to science fiction again, and we're back with still reigning Rank and Review champion, Karen Giese. So we're dialing it back. It's not quite the horror show that we've been looking at in the past. So no zombies here, no animals eating people. Much more into the sci-fi world. Although, a lot of shocking violence. Mm-hmm. Once again, you've said in the past, not a big fan of the violence. And we have 6 pretty violent movies here.
To clarify, though, not a big fan of the human-on-human violence.
I think that's represented as well. But
Yeah. Meh. We'll see.
So you said before we started that you think that this is gonna be another one where we're gonna go 6 for 6. You're gonna double down on your championship.
I'm certainly hoping so.
I made a noise. I don't know.
You did.
I don't know. I hope so.
Larry thinks we're gonna differ.
I do think
in
we're gonna
opinion.
differ. I have, I think, a fairly controversial opinion of a few of these movies.
Larry.
At least,
Okay.
In sort of geek world out there, people who are into movies. You know, there are films that are universally loved by the sort of geek crowd.
Yes.
And there are films that aren't or whatever. And I'm not always going to fall on the side of the geek crowd 100% of the time.
Okay, fine. But if you're
panicking.
saying what I think you're saying...
You can calm down. You can calm
Okay.
It's going to be okay. We're going to end this episode still friends, you and me. I guarantee it.
We'll see. We'll see.
We are taking kind of an adversarial stance all of a sudden. So I'm looking forward to it. So, are you particular to science fiction?
I love sci-fi.
Yeah.
I totally love sci-fi. I love pretty much everything about it. From the super cheesy vampires to the space aliens to werewolves to whatever.
So you would include vampires and werewolves in the sci-fi world?
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Much before the Twilight incident.
Right.
But
scary vampires.
Yeah.
Not pretty vampires.
Yeah, I do. Like anything that's apart from life on Earth, I guess, is what I would put in there.
I kind of put them all under this weird blanket of genre movies. If you have a monster or a ghost or an alien or some sort of weird hanky, like, outer worldly element to it, I'm more interested. I'm already more interested for some reason. I can dig in for a proper human drama, and I love theater as well. But
Sure.
I dedicate this podcast mainly to monsters eating people.
Yay! Like it. It's good.
So I'm a fan too. I mean my favorite genre is still probably horror movies, but I think that there's a lot of crossover between horror and sci-fi.
So do I. Yeah.
Like I often ponder. I have so many movies I have to put them on different shelves.
Yeah.
But do I put the Alien franchise on the science fiction shelf? Of course. But it's a horror movie, so shouldn't it be on the horror show? Do I have to buy another copy of Alien?
You need a shelf for in the middle. How about...
Yeah. Or just alphabetize them.
Alphabetize. That's kind of a cheap way out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a movie freak. What kind of...
Indeed.
I have a problem.
Yes, I was amazed at your selection. Absolutely amazed.
Just for the record on this 42nd episode, aside from a few episodes where I had to fill some holes, the musical podcast episode, I bought a few.
Right.
All of the movies we reviewed, all of them, good, bad, and ugly, are out of my personal collection. Yeah. I have a physical DVD or Blu-ray copy of them.
Nice.
And that's one sort of way, when I was originally sort of putting groups together, I was just picking any movies I could think of. And that was a way of me sort of bearing down this ocean into a lake, was just, what movies do I own? Anyway. Thank you for coming back again.
You're welcome.
And here are the 6 movies that are going to be ranked and reviewed.
I'll just say, still champion.
Still champion. And maybe double champion.
Maybe
so what happens if you win 2, another one? Nobody can be champion until they win 2 then?
Exactly.
Or is it the next...
No.
No. Okay.
Yeah, no.
Right.
Even if somebody wins, we're still tied.
I have to tell
By
you.
the way.
I really love how covetous you are.
I'm totally covetous. Absolutely. This is my title.
You're lucky enough that you got not 1, but 2 movies starring Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Arnold.
Total Recall.
Yes.
We have Joss Whedon's huge nerd fan base for this, based from the TV show Firefly Serenity. We have another sci-fi warship gem, The Fifth Element, starring the famously difficult Bruce Willis.
Is he difficult?
Well, I've never met the man, but I've heard he can be a handful. I think if you're too famous for too long, shit just starts happening to you.
Yeah, he's one of those actors that maybe he should just stop acting.
If he's not liking it anymore, I say quit. And Bruce, I'm sure he's listening to the show. No offense, brother. This is word of mouth here. Steven Spielberg, obscure filmmaker, taking on the H.G. Wells classic work, War of the Worlds.
Steven Spielheim, you said?
Spielheim. Spielberg. Yeah. The 90s blockbuster Independence Day.
Yep.
And I'm hoping you like this one because apparently 2 more are knocking on the door. Coming soon.
Are you kidding?
I am not kidding. More Independence Day on the way. And last and not least, we have Schwarzenegger again with Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I actually very recently reviewed the first Terminator.
I know, I listened to it.
There it was.
Yeah.
So I think it's an interesting, violent bunch of sci-fi movies, and I think we should just jump in.
Jump.
Your mind. It is the center of your life. It is everything you hear. Everything you see. Everything you feel. It is everything you are. How would you know if someone stole your mind?
Arrest that woman!
All right.
Right.
Total Recall from director Paul Verhoeven, who I've talked about quite a bit on the show. And every time I talk about him, I say he is a director who lacks subtlety. You're going to be guaranteed lots of sex and violence, but no subtlety whatsoever.
Yeah.
And usually, he can sort of go past that. He can style as substance. He can kind of pull it off sometimes. The interesting thing about Total Recall, it's based off of a work by Philip K. Dick. We Can Remember It For You Wholesale. It's a short story. And it's actually a very interesting piece of science fiction to decorate around a lavish Arnold Schwarzenegger sci-fi shoot-'em-up. Seems like a strange marriage. I'm curious to think what you have to say about it.
Well, first I'll say that, it's kind of hard to take Arnold serious as a romantic lead, which he kind of was in this, which, I find a little creepy and gross.
Love triangle wasn't working for you?
Not quite. All in all, I I was leery at first about watching this movie because I haven't seen it for years and years.
Right.
But I actually really enjoyed watching this movie. You know, yeah, some glaring deficiencies, absolutely. But then you have some, I don't know, the comedy aspect of it where it probably wasn't meant to be comedy, but it is comedy now.
It's weirdly absurd.
Yeah.
Absurd quality. I don't know if I would call it funny, but there is a almost cartoony, absurd quality to the movie. And
Yeah.
again, that seems counterintuitive to Philip K. Dick, which is really smart. When I talk about the plot of this movie, it sounds like this is a super sharp science fiction, right?
Yeah.
A sort of blue collar dude who has a Sharon Stone hottie wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't feel quite in his own skin, and doesn't, wants more, always wants to explore.
Yeah.
And he discovers this place that will basically inject a memory into your head, and you can go on like a vacation a dream world vacation.
Yeah.
Now the question of the movie is either something goes wrong in this Total Recall place, and his brain gets scrambled and a new identity surfaces.
Yeah.
Or the entire movie is his experience within the Total Recall.
Yeah.
Either case can be argued, and that's kind of really interesting.
Yeah.
But the movie's basically about really gory squib effects and three-titted mutants.
Yes.
And very impressive production values. Yeah, they remade it, and I understood. A lot of people said, "Why would you remake Total Recall?" And I said, "Well, because as cool as this version of Total Recall was, I think that the Philip K. Dick story deserves maybe proper service." Strangely enough, they did nothing to improve on this. So who knows? Maybe Verhoeven was onto something. Maybe you needed to make this, a little bit more silly. But
it worked. Whatever.
Yeah.
It worked better than the remake.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Arnold Schwarzenegger as a leading man. Since we're going to be talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger quite a bit
Again. Yeah.
in certain ways, I think that when cast well, he works completely adequately.
Yeah.
I think especially early in his career, like roles like Terminator and Conan the Barbarian completely made sense and sort of accessed where his real gifts are. The later you get into his career, and I'm not saying this with tongue-in-cheek, I think the better an actor Schwarzenegger does become. Enough time on set, enough time making movies, he gets more comfortable in front of the camera, he gets better with the language.
Yeah.
This is sort of the middle ground, Schwarzenegger. I can't quite buy him as a super intelligent, Uber spy. He's still kind of Arnold to me.
He is, quite, yeah.
But I enjoy watching Arnold kick ass. And I enjoy a lot of the cutting edge sort of effects and work that went into the movie. At the time, the Johnny Robot Cab thing was an amazing feat of sort of robotic puppetry. The really bizarre prosthetic effects that are affected on dummies to make people's faces
thoroughly bizarre.
Yeah, I don't believe it. It doesn't look real. It
doesn't.
It looks Muppety.
It looks like clay.
And it's almost like the rest of the movie was built around to accommodate that sequence because the hyper real craziness of everything you've seen, you sort of almost let this go. That they could survive the atmosphere that was literally forcing their bodies out of their faces.
Yeah, exactly.
And that the atmosphere could form quick enough so that they could survive and recover from that.
Which I just want to say would not actually happen if you were on Mars.
No,
that's actually not true.
Just
so you know.
Question.
Yeah.
That's something that I tried not to do a lot in science fiction movies, especially like this one that aren't taking themselves very, very seriously. Right. If it's a movie like Gravity or Interstellar, which is, trying to set its feet somewhat in the real world, then I'll sort of bitch more about science, shit like that.
Absolutely true. But I'm a scientist. I kind of can't help it.
I'm not wagging my finger.
That.
I'm not wagging my finger. Yeah. I think we're kind of on the same page here.
Yeah.
This was also the age of, Ripley had happened in Aliens.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, not only were strong female characters popping up everywhere, but it was the in cool thing. This movie has two very strong female roles, Sharon Stone and Rachel Ticotin. Rachel Ticotin, this character was having an affair with the original sort of super spy alter ego of Arnold Schwarzenegger, and when he got his new memory implanted, if that's in fact what happened, he was basically situated with Sharon Stone. Yeah. And so these two women have a love triangle, but neither of them can 100% trust it either.
Yeah.
And they have a pretty good confrontation.
They do.
what's the name of the guy, the resistance leader that they're trying to...
Quato.
Quato, thank you.
Yes.
Great performance by both the actor playing sort of his cover, and I want to say Marshall Bell is his name. He hides within him a mutant that sort of erupts from his stomach and gives sort of Yoda-like wisdom.
Yeah, and who for some unknown reason is quite slimy in comparison to his human host.
Really gross, like intelligent baby face thing.
Yeah.
And like
Really
I hadn't
gross.
seen anything like that before, but when I watched it, I can't help but think like K2 famously in our zombies episode said that she despises puppets.
Yeah.
That it is,
I do.
and I think there really was a sort of puppety effect to Quato.
There was.
And I
There was.
pictured you hiding under your couch or something.
Very nice. Yeah, I don't know. I think, I don't know. The absurdity of Quato,
Yeah.
I think, negated my
Your
revulsion.
puppetry.
Yes.
Again, we got class warfare going on Mars. When we get to Mars, all the mutants are being ill-treated and exploited by the powers that be. And, you could be saying, they might be saying something that could be echoes of the real world. But really, for me, again, three-titted aliens and these cool, huge drill mining impractical machines, and the effects take over everything. So, like, I like the movie while saying I don't know that this is the version of the Philip K. Dick story. I mean, I don't know if you want to make another version of Total Recall, but...
A third?
yeah, exactly. But
It just goes downhill.
Because
really.
It's weird, like, in a way, they remade the movie of Total Recall without remaking the stories.
Yeah, no, they didn't keep any of the... I will go out on a limb and say the heart of that film.
The movie couldn't be more different than this.
Yeah.
True Grit. Okay?
Okay.
The Coen Brothers' True Grit.
Yeah.
Already, the original True Grit considered a classic work. But the Coen Brothers looked at this source material and saw how far they'd strayed from it and the way the story was told.
Yeah.
And that Cogburn wasn't the main character. Actually, it was the
girl. Yeah.
And they did their own adaptation that was very different, and some people say the equal, some people say better,
Yeah.
That's how you remake a movie.
Yeah. Exactly.
See what that movie failed to do and pick up there. And yeah, I mean, if they did something well, you might want to remember that.
Yeah.
But mainly you should look at where the darker corners, I think.
Yeah. I mean, the movie, it did have a lot of parallels, I think, to life now. Like, one, the use of technology to escape
Right. Absolutely.
your life. To still and forever, and I'm sure always, unfortunately, humans in better positions tend to take advantage of those in lesser positions, which is really sucky, but it's kind of, it seems to be human nature. And I mean, when they cut off the air in order to kill all the mutants, that's kind of, it's kind of what is happening now, like cutting off resources to people who can't really afford better.
Yeah, it's a not so subtle allegory to
Absolutely.
Corporate greed and indifference, and that it would, if it came down to depriving them of air, just because it would cost more money to feed them. They didn't have to kill them; it wasn't a choice that they needed to make. It was just they were evil.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
again, I think that gets eclipsed by things like Michael Ironside getting his arms squeezed off in an elevator door, or like.
That's fine.
Another disturbing sequence I wanted to talk about.
Good.
Ever since I was a kid, I've always had a problem with this. He gets this suitcase which gives a message from his other self. And he's told that he's got a tracking device within him and that he must remove it.
Yes.
Okay, well, here's another question for you, Bill Nye, the science guy. If you ram a device up into your nose and pull out a golf ball-sized thing, you have destroyed your nasal cavity and broken your nose several times over.
Your nasal cavity, yes, and I'm pretty sure that would be like a self-inflicted lobotomy. I'm pretty sure. Shoving that big, huge metal rod with claws on the end into your brain?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is such a horrifying sequence. I remember as a kid, I've just always been so troubled by it. And the last few seconds with the prosthetic, she's trying to rend it from his nostril.
Yeah.
Good God. Much like most of Paul Verhoeven's work, this movie is unbelievably violent.
That's super funny. Yeah, cartilage is somewhat squishy, but not that squishy.
Anyway, I think that I've made my case clear on Total Recall.
Yeah.
It's a guilty pleasure. I see flaws all over the place,
Sure.
and yet I have a big, dumb, goofy smile on my face while I'm watching.
That's funny.
Y'all got on this boat for different reasons. But you all come to the same place. So now I'm asking more of you than I have before. As sure as I know anything, I know this. I aim to misbehave. I'm taking your sister under my protection here.
The only people she's a threat to is us on this boat.
It isn't safe. They're coming.
I think we better go.
I was late to the party to Firefly. Firefly had already aired and been canceled by the time I found it.
Me too.
So I was probably like most of its fans now.
Yeah.
I caught up with the show right around the time that the movie was coming out. So when I saw Serenity, which is the movie we're about to talk about, I was fully prepared.
For sure.
And I think that the people who come to this movie fully prepared are going to have a much better time with Serenity than the people who don't. I'm not saying that if you come in having not seen the show that you're not going to have a really good time with a really entertaining roller coaster ride of a movie.
Yeah.
Because you are.
Yeah.
I think if you haven't seen the show, you'll like Serenity. If you have, you will fucking love it.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen either, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah. Joss Whedon, who did this obscure Avengers movie, and is doing the sequel,
which I never saw.
he had this tragedy happen to him because despite the success of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, his two subsequent TV shows, which were actually quite smart, Dollhouse and Firefly, were both cancelled prematurely. Firefly, halfway through its first season, 12 episodes.
Because of a mistake.
Well,
not of his doing.
It's interesting because things were changing for television. These like Netflix type services were just starting to creep up.
Yeah.
Video stores were just starting to die.
Yeah.
So it was this sort of hazy period. If Firefly was airing with the ratings it got then now, it would be considered a monster hit. That's
Absolutely.
the real tragedy of
Yeah.
it. But who knows? Maybe we could have got seasons and seasons of diminishing returns of Firefly. Instead, we basically got this huge series finale, I guess we're going to have to call it.
Which
people keep out hope that the Browncoats may show up again, but if this is all we get out of the Firefly universe, at least I can say that it was great. You know,
you're right. It's a huge return, and I agree. It's. I would have loved to have seen more Firefly.
Yeah.
I would have loved to, but maybe that's why I love it so much is because it had such a tragic ending and then just this big, gigantic, fantastic movie.
Yeah. I also am glad that we're reviewing Serenity together because I have to correct something I said in our previous episode.
Oh, really?
In our previous episode, I believe I said that Alec Baldwin was the only Baldwin of use.
He is not a Baldwin. He is not related.
He's not related to the Baldwins, but he is indeed a Baldwin.
He is a
And
Baldwin.
Adam Baldwin, who plays
awesome.
James, is awesome.
He's awesome.
So I am sorry that I besmirched your last name in the previous episode. I'm sure Adam Baldwin's a big fan of the podcast. So
yeah, exactly.
He's been waiting for this review, and I just wanted to make sure
Damn it, Larry!
that Jane didn't come knocking. Okay, plot. The crew of the Firefly, headed by the dreamy Nathan Fillion, Captain Mao, who are sort of smugglers, guns for hire in this sort of space western milieu, have a very dangerous and valuable commodity on their ship in the form of this teenage girl named River.
Yeah.
She has been experimented on, and she's psychic, and we also find when she is finally triggered in this movie that she's an amazing combat person.
Lethal.
When she was hired for the TV show, she was hired because she's a dancer. Mm-hmm. And the specific reason to hire a dancer were for these elaborate fight sequences that they were going to do when
Yeah.
her power was revealed late in the first season, right? That
Yeah.
never ended up happening. So we get an incredible sequence in this early in this movie where
Yeah.
Summers she's triggered and clears out an entire bar
Yeah.
and almost takes out the entire cast of the movie.
Yeah, totally.
Anyway, so she's been spotted by the powers that be. So a bounty
Yeah.
hunter is sent to, get her and presumably kill or capture anyone who's
Yeah.
she's been around. And they have to decide what they're going to do. Are they going to stand by their crew member, and no matter where this trouble leads, or the world is very full. And again, you get more color if you've seen the TV show. But
Yeah.
there are these reaver creatures who are very zombie-like and sort of represent, as I was saying, like where in old classic westerns where the natives would be, where the Indians
Yeah.
would be. The reavers are sort of this. You don't want to be in reaver territory. They'll come and they'll scalp you or they'll
Yeah.
kill you. Or in this case, rape and kill you horribly. That's
Rape
sort of-
and kill and eat you.
Yeah.
And to quote the movie, hopefully in that order.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oof. So a lot of enemies. Here's
Yeah.
the part where I totally destroy this guy's name. Chiwetel Ejiofor. He was
Chiwetel, yeah.
Chiwetel Ejiofor. He was recently nominated for
12
Best
Years a
Actor for
Slave.
12 Years a Slave.
Yeah.
He plays the bounty hunter and really, really good villain foil for
Oh,
Nathan
yeah.
Fillion. Because
Totally
where he is
stoic and-
stoic and calculating and
Yeah.
cold. He's, Mal's more of a Han Solo kind of figure.
Han
He plays
Solo
fast and loose.
spaz, kind
Yeah.
of. Yeah.
He wins because he refuses to lose, not
Yeah,
because he's
basically.
skilled, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. I feel weird reviewing Serenity because, I'm such an unabashed fan. I don't
Yeah.
even know that I came in here, able to not at least like the movie. But I love the movie. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, no, I started this sequence of movies with the idea already that Serenity was just brilliant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sad that we can't also talk about Firefly.
Well, we can talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, it's hard to separate it.
It is.
But again, I think that people who haven't seen it or watching Serenity, they see this old preacher gut character die, and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
that's too bad. If you've watched the TV show,
Yeah.
oh, so many plot doors have closed.
Yeah.
We didn't know what the whole story behind that guy was. We sort of liked his
Exactly.
character, and we expected all these things from him. And
Yeah.
nope, he's dead. If you haven't seen the movie, when the pilot Wash gets speared through, it's like
Jesus.
shocking death.
Heartbreaking.
If you have seen the show, it's absolutely devastating.
Absolutely. Wash is fantastic.
No. Wash.
Yeah.
It's just brutal. It breaks my heart
Yeah.
every time.
Every time.
And it's beautifully set up in the script and well executed.
Yeah.
And I like how it's handled. They're in so much danger they don't really have a chance to mourn for it,
Yeah.
and neither do we.
Yeah.
But and once that happens, once Wash has been fucking killed, you're like, what else is going to
I know.
happen, right?
I know.
So the stakes, again, because we have 12 hours of television leading up to this,
Yeah.
for us, just like edge of your seat. Again, if you haven't watched it, exciting.
Yeah.
Right?
Super exciting. But yeah, if you haven't seen Firefly, watch it.
But this is sort of how I feel. This review was going to be an echo chamber for me.
Yeah.
It was like, this is seen as interesting, but it would be more interesting if you'd seen this.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when I'm ranking and reviewing, I got to sort of judge the movie by itself, right?
Yeah, but I mean, it's hard to take away that investment that you and I have
Yeah.
for Firefly and Serenity as a combo, as an arcing story. You know.
I also love the world, like they say that Joss
Oh,
Whedon created.
God, yeah.
There's the wild frontier. There's this area that's controlled by the corporate entity in the world, and then there's sort of this sort of somewhat wild free zone where you're a little closer to the Reavers than you want to be, but you're not under the constant pressure of the man. It's the Wild West in space.
Yeah.
And I really like that, and I think there are a lot of stories that you could tell there.
Yeah.
And the Browncoats, the fans of the series, basically got this movie made. And Joss Whedon's always said he wanted to find a home for Firefly. And after doing these 2 huge Avenger movies from Marvel, I'm sure he could write his own ticket.
For sure.
But I don't know at this point if I think he should go back to Firefly. I think that if he could leave it with this, then, the legacy is secure. People can say, they can always imagine what that TV show would have been or what that series of movies was. But what we have here is just wonderful,
But I mean, it has come to a fantastic conclusion. I agree. I don't think he should go back. As much as I would totally watch whatever Serenity / Firefly thing he comes out with,
Yeah.
I don't know if he should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to give Joss Whedon a lot of credit in his ability, and I think this probably comes with his years of TV work, of juggling multiple characters.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, the only character who I wish we had more of was Kaylee, Jewel State. She's sort of the engine girl who has a crush on the Doctor, and that's pretty much what she is in the movie. She doesn't have a lot to do, but there's a lot of balls in the air, and somebody had to get short. I understand it, you know.
Yeah.
But considering the amount of characters, and the amount of characters that he kind of had to both reintroduce to the fans and to the new audience, it's balanced so well. There's such an energy to the movie.
Yeah.
It opens with a great escape sequence, followed by a great scene that introduces our villain.
Yeah.
And you know, then we get to revisit our crew who we've missed for so many years, and they embark on their last and greatest adventure.
Yeah. But then again, I mean, Malcolm Reynolds said it to himself in the movie that, or I guess the villain said it.
Yeah.
That they're broken, but they're not gone.
Yeah.
The Alliance, the controlling entity.
The Alliance has been exposed for the evils that they have done, and the lies that they have told, and the people that they have killed, and that's not going to be easy to recover from. But Mal has made a very powerful enemy.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely, very powerful.
Could they tell more stories? Absolutely, but at this point, I'm wondering if or not they should. Another thing that I will say about this movie, and it's going to sound critical, but I love the movie. Love the movie. It's kind of bloodthirsty.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean,
absolutely.
Mr. Universe, that sort of comic relief character guy, gets stabbed through with a sword just savagely. And the level of violence that we get in the Reapers and to our characters that we like is shocking. And the final ploy, frankly, of the Firefly crew to lead the Reapers to this base planet of the Alliance, that's going to help them get through the fire, these people that are there to shoot them.
Sure.
But that's going to kill... And not just kill, but rape to death and kill hundreds of thousands of people on that planet.
Oh God, yeah.
And that's a side note. That's how they get there
not
to
planet.
deliver this message. Or space station, whatever.
The Alliance.
Yeah.
I guess. Which
but not everybody at
innocent.
the Alliance were evil. There's lots of families living there that died in order to get this message out. And that I think that our crew's hands are bloodied from that, and that the script never covers that. It's just cool and badass that they got the Reavers to follow them into the atmosphere.
It was pretty cool and badass, but I agree.
So, you know, but I mean, that's me looking hard to find something bad to say about Serenity, which I really don't have a lot of bad things to say about it. Again, please watch the shit out of this movie.
Oh my good God.
It does not linger on my shelf that often. You know, like I will come back to just random episodes of the series, but especially Serenity. You know.
And I just want to say my favorite episode of Firefly is the one with Janestown.
The man they call Jane.
I love that. That's fantastic.
I like the episode where Mal and Wash get taken hostage.
Oh, that's a good one too, by Niska.
We could just nerd out
totally
so hard right now.
I know.
Okay, Luc Besson, interesting French director. He's done some really interesting, cool action movies. The film Nikita and Leon, The Professional, being favorites of mine. He also did a so-so movie called Messenger Joan of Arc with Mila Jovovich, who he was having an affair with while he was making his dream project, The Fifth Element. This is a beautiful looking and very ambitious science fiction movie. The scale and scope of the world that we're seeing, the only thing I can compare it to is Blade Runner. As far as
but
the
it
different
leaves Blade Runner in the dust.
Well,
honestly,
but it's 20 years ahead of it.
Well, exactly.
But that's the last film that I think touched on this scope of sort of science fiction.
It
grandeur.
is beautiful,
and it looks fantastic. And a lot of people complain that there's Muppets and puppets that they use to do some of the creatures in the universe. I kind of personally get tired that every alien we encounter has, 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes, and it's just like us. I kind of like them to be more beastie or monstery. But
you need to have something to relate to. I mean,
the design is beautiful, but at times I think a little bit impractical. Like the robot creator aliens that help build the periods are these big wobbly elephant looking things that seem to be barely able to walk.
Yeah,
and yet
they're
they're the
machines.
most powerful and intelligent creatures in the universe.
Yes,
you know?
except they can't get out a door as
Yeah.
it's closing super slowly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think design and style trumped everything
Yeah.
in
Agreed.
this movie.
Yeah.
And I know that people love the shit out of The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, about 45 minutes into this movie, I got sort of used to the beautiful environments. And I was looking at all of these different archetypes and was starting to get bored.
Yeah.
And then the final nail in the coffin hit with the introduction of Chris Tucker as this absolutely annoying, TV personality with that squeaky nails down a chalkboard. I'm Chris Tucker voice. It sounds like that sounds like me making like a racial slur or something. But that's what the man sounds like. And he screams and bellows throughout the movie. I've seen the blandly heroic, stoic Bruce Willis, you know, and
In this same role over and over and over again with just different scenery.
Absolutely. I appreciate that the movie has a sense of goofy humor to it, but in balance with the real huge operatic scale of emotion that they attempt, it doesn't seem in balance. I don't know how deep into the heroin addiction Gary Oldman was at this point, but this definitely was in his drug days. So I'm sure it all made perfect sense to him what he was doing, but I was neither scared nor amused by this villain. I didn't understand how he could arise to a position of any kind of authority or power that anyone would take this clearly insane person seriously.
Yeah.
I just kept on getting hit in the face with stupidity, left, right, and center in the movie.
Agreed.
Beautiful stupidity, but
beautiful
just isn't enough. And that's where I land. That's my rant
Okay.
on The Fifth Element. And with that, I throw this blood-soaked ball to you.
Okay. Well, I mean, for the most part, and yes, unfortunately, because visually it's stunning. Substance-wise, meh. Chris Tucker, super freaking annoying. However, I do think that this was his best role. I really do. I'm not a Chris Tucker fan.
Well, I've only seen the first of the Rush Hour franchise. But I don't know. I find him very piercing. He's I don't know. I liked him in Jackie Brown. I think I liked him in that movie.
Okay.
Because he was actually playing a character and not just screaming at me the whole time.
I also thought that Mila and Bruce were really not well matched. I agree about Gary Oldman. And I love Gary Oldman. I think he's fantastic. But
I think a brilliant actor could only give such a quirky performance, but it just didn't work for me.
No.
He wasn't bored. He wasn't half-assing it. It just
And the what are the main villain aliens called? I can't remember. The puppet guys. Yeah, exactly. They're puppet guys. They look like bloated dog pigs.
Yeah.
Kind of. And the biggest redeeming quality or point for this movie is the diva. Because that aria that she did, and although yes, it's impossible for an actual human to do that, there was an actual voice behind it.
Yeah.
And she can do some really amazing things.
She was actually Luc Besson's wife at the time.
Oh.
Who was being
What an
cheated
asshole.
on.
Holy shit. Jesus, what an ass. Yeah, I mean, and yeah, the whole, like you said earlier before we were recording, the whole idea behind this is that the fifth element is love, and come on.
The fifth
really?
element is love. The key to
Water,
balancing the universe.
fire.
Water, air, fire, earth.
And love.
And love, motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Love.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I get it. I guess that is the most obvious fucking thing you can do.
Yep, totally. Yeah. But scantily clad Mila throughout most of the thing.
Okay, well, here's something I want to talk about, actually.
Okay.
Mila Jovovich, or however you say that name. I'm not
Jovovich?
Jovovich, one of those.
I
I apologize, Mila. She's beautiful, and she's got a really stunning pair of eyes on her. And I think that movies just need to stop with the hot girls saying baby talk.
Yeah. Are you kidding?
I'm talking to you, Nell. Jodie Foster and Nell. And apparently there was a real language that was developed. It's not gibberish to her, but it's gibberish to him. There's just...
Yeah.
There's something about her childlike performance when juxtaposed with how sexualized she is, that does not work.
No.
So I can't do like, oh, look at the Mila boobies, because like she's a pure innocent character. I think it's awful that Bruce Willis wants to do these terrible things to her,
right?
I think that she needs to be protected from his brute. I'm split on Mila as an actress, though. I think she's a great physical performer. She can do action sequence well. And I've seen her give good scenes, and I've seen her give really bad scenes. So she's kind of a wild card for me.
I do think this is her genre, though. I really do. Like, with all the Resident Evils that she's done, and which, granted, I haven't seen them all. But, I mean, I really think this is where she is, where she should be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But... and in terms of, like, I found this this movie, yes, the scenery was beautiful, but it was very Roger Rabbit-y, in the sense that it was kind of hard to relate to it because it was so distinct from where we are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sort of complaining a little bit about some of the humor in it, but it's really isolated moments of the movie that I like.
Yeah.
I like the guy who's trying to rob Bruce Willis, so he builds an elaborate headpiece. So
Yeah,
that when
he was
Bruce
great.
looks through his eye hole, it looks like the hallway. And he's standing there to rob him.
Obvious tweaker.
Little details like that. The cockroach that literally has a camera mounted on it that's spying on it. I thought that was a cute little detail. The security system at the airport that everybody had to go through. There's lots of great details and like obviously really thought out, obviously designed by amazing people. I wish I felt more.
Me too. Yeah.
But how did they get Luke Perry? Score!
I think that might have been his first role after 90210. Yeah. Jeeps. It's like I kind of felt like it was just a futuristic Die Hard type movie, and
I don't think we ever did explain the story. It's
No.
kind of late in the review to start now, but...
They're looking for the fifth element to save humankind.
Yes, an ancient, obscure religious faith knows that the world was, at least partially, created by aliens, and that we are...
The robots?
Yeah, we are going to have to defend these important elements and discover, indeed, the mysterious fifth element, which is
The
Bruce
perfect
Willis
being.
and Mila Jovovich doing the nasty.
Yeah, basically. Which is just gross. Really?
Mila
No.
can do better.
Yeah.
Better than Luc Besson, better than Bruce Willis, and better than the fifth element.
There you go. Yep.
Is that all? It's been a really brief, mean
Super
thrashing
brief.
that we've done on this, but I don't know what other than kicking the dead horse. It's beautiful. Sound off movie.
Yeah.
Play some music and have it on in the background of your, party or something. But
Maybe do something hallucinatory?
yeah, if that's your
Hallucinogenic-y?
bag, whatever.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've never understood the worship that this movie has.
I mean, granted, yeah, at the time there really was nothing like it. When it came out, it does stand alone in visual scope.
Yeah.
It really does.
But
Still, to this day, it
proof
does.
positively, that, to me anyway, that style as substance just ain't enough.
Yeah, for some people, it is not enough. For
But tell that to the
a lot of
Transformers
people,
crowd, or tell that to,
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
We're leaving this house in 60 seconds.
Dad, it's really scary.
Bring it to me, okay?
Why?
Just do it.
Tell me what you saw.
Whose car is this?
Ray, where you going? What are you doing?
Get in, Manny.
Get out of the truck. I'm not kidding, Ray.
Get in, Manny, or you're gonna die.
War of the Worlds.
War of the Worlds, indeed. Probably the most famous adaptation of War of the Worlds, H.G. Wells' science fiction novel, is Orson Welles' radio play, which literally got people out of their houses with shotguns.
I know, that would have been so awesome.
Because they thought the aliens were coming. The saucers were here, people, or the tripods were here. So who better than Spielberg, of all directors, to revisit this? property in 2005. He's also coming off of another successful collaboration with Tom Cruise in another science fiction movie called Minority Report. Minority Report has its problems, but I think it's much the superior of the two movies. That said, I think that there are some fantastic sequences in War of the Worlds and good Spielberg moments. And I enjoy seeing Spielberg with mean aliens. I mean, we're very familiar with the cuddly E.T. alien that he introduced us to, and the friendly, communicating, and mysterious aliens from Close Encounters. These aliens are bad news, and we finally get to see sort of Spielberg do a science fiction disaster movie. So he was the right man for a job in a lot of ways. And David Koepp, his sort of go-to for his blockbuster screenplays, gave a fairly dimensioned character to Tom Cruise. He's not just a blandly heroic dude. He's kind of a flawed father who redeems himself through this really almost global catastrophe. It seems like Armageddon at times.
It does.
So I'm kind of mixed, but overall, I guess, positive about War of the Worlds. Not enthusiastic, but I'm happy to hear a second opinion. So where are you at?
I actually really... I liked this movie. And I mean, again, this is one that I hadn't seen for quite a long time. And it was one of the last ones I watched because I was like, Tom Cruise.
It's true. All of a sudden, Tom Cruise movies start to feel like homework.
Don't they?
Like, for a while, like anything Tom Cruise touched, everyone's lining up for it. But it just seems like there's always going to be another Tom Cruise movie.
Yeah. It's like Liam Neeson now. No offense to Liam. But
like Tom Cruise has been like a couple movies a year, it seems, since 1984. It's just like he's sort of much like Bruce Willis. We talked about it. It's like we've seen him in so many permutations now. He's familiar property. I'm having trouble speaking.
He is. However, in this movie, I think this is a type of character that suits him. You know, kind of arrogant, kind of belligerent, kind of, I don't know, greasy in a way. I kind of think it suits him.
He's divorced from Miranda Otto, who's got a baby on the way with another fellow, and he's come to spend time with his kids, and you kind of get the feeling like hanging with his kids is more a job to him than his job.
Absentee dad.
Yeah. It's not that he doesn't love his kids, but I don't know, he just feels like he's failed and is sort of resigned to that position.
Yeah, and his kids also think he's failed.
Yeah, especially his teenage son.
Yeah.
They have a fairly fractured, to say the least, relationship.
Yeah.
It also has the young and adorable Dakota Fanning as the precocious, adorable daughter in the movie. And she is a very good child actress.
She is.
You know, when she's scared, I 100% believe her.
For sure.
There was no scene that they gave her that she was not able to handle. So it's really interesting to see these spookily intelligent, capable child actors. Whenever you even saw her interviewed at that age, it's just like creepy.
Yeah,
creepy.
A little too adult to be a child.
Right, but you know, well used here, and the cute little blonde girl thing in these types of movies are one of the things where you kind of put up with what you get there. Yeah. Maybe she's not much of an actress, but she's filling the role of the little blonde girl that needs to be rescued.
Yeah. But she's actually
here. There's a character.
Actor.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's good.
She's got scenes with Tom Cruise and Tim Robbins.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
She's holding her weight.
Yeah, totally.
So Tom Cruise is having a not so great visit with his kids, and he goes down the street. I can't remember his impetus to go out the house. And all of a sudden, a gigantic tripod erupts from the ground and starts vaporizing everybody in its path. And it's really kind of disturbing. Like, they get disintegrated into dust. And as he's running, he gets caked with this stuff. Yeah. This people dust all over him. Dust. And it's especially the first 45 minutes of the movie is where it's really working for me, where you feel this disaster, like this global Armageddon is almost happening, and he knows it. He knows how huge the stakes are, and he wants to protect his kids from it as much as he can. Problem is even before this happened, his kids have almost no trust in him. Totally, yeah. So it's tough.
Yeah. And I mean, in a lot of ways, this movie is about mending those relationships.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily present in the original book, and I think it's a good dimension to add to it. One of the flaws of the movie, and I can't put it on Spielberg and I can't put it on Cruise,
Yeah.
is the built-in anticlimax of the book.
Yeah.
The aliens that have lied dormant beneath the earth for hundreds of millions of years erupt to destroy us, but find they cannot withstand our biological,
Yeah.
like...
Which is actually one of the reasons that I liked this movie, because it wasn't humans defeating
No,
the
nothing
aliens.
we did
Is bacteria.
overtly,
Yeah.
Nothing we did overtly got them. We just had bugs that we were used to that they weren't, and that killed them before
Yeah.
they could kill us. But
As brought to you by the ever so soothing voice of Morgan Freeman.
Exactly, because it was so hard to. How do you get that point out? Especially because they're interested in this guy who's in the middle of it.
Yeah.
He's not the head of the military fighting the alien menace.
Yeah.
We'll get to that when we talk about Independence Day.
Yeah.
This is just a dude trying
Just
to
a
stay
guy.
alive.
Yeah.
And that was a good choice.
That was a great choice. Agreed. Yeah.
I think that the dividing line of the movie, we have an amazing sequence on a ferry where the ferry tips over
Yeah.
and there's like hundreds of extras and people are getting sucked out of the water and it's just great. And then everything settles down and they hide in this basement suite and it gets till Night of the Living Dead and they meet crazy Tim Robbins. And all of a sudden the energy and everything sort of downshifts in the movie and it sort of becomes a suspense, almost horror movie for a while.
It does, but it not only downshifts, but it skews to the side a little bit as well. Like Tim Robbins, he was fantastic. He plays a really good, not quite there person.
Yeah.
I really liked him.
He is strangely good at playing sons of bitches. He seems like such a soft lefty, Quaker dude, but he seems to have a dark side.
There you go.
But in a way, I mean, Spielberg's really skillful at, jumping moods and tones.
Yeah.
As good as that stuff was, I was kind of missing the exciting spectacle that I got in the first hour. In a way, the movie's top-heavy. I think that the first half is substantially better than the second.
Okay, because I kind of think the opposite,
Oh, really?
actually. Because, I like the action, but I mean, a lot of what I find in movies is action for action's sake.
Yeah.
Whereas the part with Tim Robbins, it's more psychological, which I don't know, I appreciate that. Yeah.
I think while we were dealing with the Tim Robbins thing, I felt like we had glossed over what really we needed to be dealing with.
Yeah.
His teenage son, always the rebellious one,
Yeah.
wants to turn around and fight these aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom Cruise being sane and rational and loving his son and having seen what these things are capable of
Yeah.
is saying no, 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 no.
Yeah.
And he finally realizes that he cannot stop his son from doing this.
Yeah.
And his son runs over a ridge and
'Cause
there's
his son is him.
huge explosion. Exactly.
Yeah.
There's a huge explosion, and for all intents and purposes, in movie language, we are told that his son is dead.
Yeah.
Now, of course, this is remedied, and everything turns out happy in Spielberg at the end. But the whole time he was in that pit protecting Dakota Fanning and with Tim Robbins, this doesn't seem to register. His son just died moments ago, and we've moved on to the next scene. And I don't know.
It's the same thing in I think we talked about it in Serenity, didn't we?
When Wash died, they just didn't have time.
You just don't have time. You're in fight or flight mode. Yeah. Fight or flight.
One of those.
Yeah.
I also kind of felt like it was a bit of a cheat. Not quite a Scorsese Casino cheat, but a bit of a cheat that they told us that he died and then he didn't. That kind of bugs me,
In character defense again, though, he still had his daughter to look out for.
Yeah.
Who is much more
apart.
helpless than his son was.
He can't fall apart. He doesn't have that luxury because he's still got some to look after.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. I watch movies differently being a parent than I did when I was a kid. And maybe I would be making your argument before I was a parent. But if I saw one of my kids get exploded, I would be fucked up. Even if I was trying to cover it up, I would be broken. I would be fucked up. And I don't know. I think that the parental thing really touches the nerve. There's, like I say, I'm Papa Bear. Don't fuck with my kids, right? Don't do it.
That's
just
funny.
don't.
I also just want to mention, did you notice that during the boat scene, they were playing If I Ruled the World by Tony Bennett?
By Tony Bennett?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Did you notice that?
I guess I didn't clock it especially.
If I Ruled the World, which I thought was really...
Nice touch.
Yeah, a nice touch. Yeah, very funny. Yeah.
As far as like a popcorn spectacle science fiction movie, absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't think it's, and this is true of H.G. Wells' book. I don't think it's that smart. I think it's like it's made to be a big dumb spectacle.
Yeah.
These tripods do seem like strange impractical robots,
Don't
and
they?
their plan doesn't
they
make
just?
a ton of sense.
No.
You know, like lay dormant for millions of years and then strike and fail miserably
For whatever reason.
You know?
What sparked? What's their motivation?
It's such a dead end that you could almost think it was a true story.
Yeah.
but
then again, it's not the aliens themselves that were there. Yeah. It was just the machines.
Right.
So, in my thinking, they had done this to many planets.
Right.
And maybe they had depleted all of the other planets that they conquered, and it was just our turn.
It was our turn, yeah. I don't know. It just, it seemed like a bare bones B-movie sort of disguised as a huge Hollywood blockbuster. I don't know.
There you go.
It's completely fine. Watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
It is morning. You wake up.
Hey, come on.
You greet your loved ones. You grab the morning paper. And although it seems like any ordinary day, it isn't. For one extraordinary reason.
A historic and unprecedented event has occurred. The question of whether or not we are alone in the universe has been answered.
This is so cool.
More ships have just arrived over India, England, and Germany.
I really don't think they flew 90 billion light years to come down here and start a fight.
We've got to stop them! They're gonna kill us all!
They're using our own satellites against us. The clock is ticking.
Launch a counteroffensive with a full nuclear strike.
Over American soil.
If we don't strike soon, there may not be much of an America left to defend.
Not only in this list of 6 science fiction movies do we have 2 movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger, but we have 2 movies with Mr. Baldwin.
We do. That's right.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah.
Yes, Jane, the man they call Jane, shows up here in a supporting role in Independence Day. Roland Emmerich. It's really popular. In fact, you and I just partook in a little lashing of the Transformers franchise.
That's right.
To talk about the emptiness and bare stupidity of Michael Bay. That no matter how loud and stupid his movies are, the next one will be louder and stupider and still make tons of money. You know? I think that Michael Bay's best movie is The Rock. And it's dumb as all hell. But it was like his first major studio film. He has significantly got worse with each movie. But you know what I won't say? I won't say that Michael Bay is necessarily the worst criminal when it comes to movie blockbusters.
No.
I think Roland Emmerich might take the prize for me.
Uh-oh. Them's fighting words.
That said, his finest film is Independence Day.
Scary thought.
Scary thought.
Scary thought.
Now, this movie was like a massive hit when it came out.
Huge, massive hit.
96, was it? Yeah. And it sort of, the world was aware of Will Smith. But before this, he was just out in his neighborhood up to no good, starting trouble in his neighborhood.
Exactly.
This movie introduced him as Will Smith, movie star.
Yeah.
And
was this his first?
This was his first leading role, big budget blockbuster movie. Like, he'd done a few other things, but like this was, he carries the movie more or less.
This was the It movie.
And he's got amazing at the time, and still, for the most part, holds up. Some of it, yes, some of it, no. Special effects. And supporting work from your friend and mine, Jeff Goldblum. Amazing actors like Bill Pullman and Robert Loggia and Mary McDonnell. He assembled a great big cast, and the aliens show up and they blow up Earth. They're blowing the shit up out of everything. And the military's got their ass kicked.
Yeah.
And it's down to this divorced, lovesick scientist Jeff Goldblum and this hotshot lone survivor jet pilot to save America, the world, from
yes.
these aliens.
And again, an ad-libbed quote from the movie. Thank God the Americans are doing something.
Yes.
Thank God for the Americans.
Yeah, there's a
Blah,
scene
blah.
towards the end of the movie where they have a plan of what to do at the end, and yeah, they get in touch with the British fleets. And they tell them what to do, and the guy's like, finally the Americans have told us how to save the world.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus.
But the movie is dumb, and it's a popcorn extravaganza, and to its credit, it knows it. Whereas I don't think that Fifth Element knew that it was a dumb science fiction extravaganza. I think it thought it was deep. This movie knows that this is a B movie with A movie production values.
Do you think it knew it was stupid?
I do.
Really?
I do.
Really? Because I didn't get that. No, I think it thought it was serious, and yeah.
It's a science fiction movie that if you even begin to start to ask hard questions of, it will fall apart in your hands quickly.
Yeah.
My personal favorite, they're autopsying a creature, Data from Star Trek The Next Generation, is cutting into this alien.
Yeah.
And things go afoul, and the military man in charge asks if this is bulletproof glass.
Yeah.
They say no, and then they empty their guns through the glass.
You bet.
If you're going to do an autopsy on a hostile alien force, and you're going to watch it through a pane of glass,
yeah,
why the fuck isn't it bulletproof glass?
Yeah, slightly. Right?
Question. But this is the sort of thing that you just cannot ask of this.
It's true. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's really funny.
But for the scale of the destruction that is laid out, for the White House being exploded and all these landmarks being destroyed, you really feel nothing. All the dumb people on the top of the roof waving the flag saying, take me to your leader, welcome to Earth, being obliterated. It's almost a punchline in this movie. Like, we don't care.
Yeah.
New York is destroyed. This is a pre-9/11 movie. This is not horrifying. This is entertainment. And I'm not saying, like, we just talked about War of the Worlds, which is a fairly seriously toned disaster movie, considering how ridiculous it is. You can make a disaster movie, but again, I think with this scale of death and destruction, there should be some level of pathos. But no, we're going to bounce from one goofy scene to another. There is one liner coming around the next corner, you know?
Yeah, the one-liners, man. Just stop with the one-liners. They just kind of wreck everything, I think.
The recently completely off the chart bonkers Randy Quaid, who has expatriated from the United States and is now a Canadian.
Is he really?
From the Hollywood Mafia, who is out to kill him. I like to think he and Michael Moriarty are sharing a crazy cabin somewhere in BC.
That's funny.
He's just like drunk crop duster who is responsible for largely saving the day because he loves America so much. It's sort of like the celebration of the I'm going to be indelicate, sort of the ignorant grassroots redneck character.
Yeah.
Sort of made heroic in the guise of Randy Quaid, and subsequently considering the trajectory of his career in life, it couldn't have been more apt.
Couldn't have been more apt, and again, we touch on that father-son thing. With that is the one redeeming thing that he did as a parent.
Right.
The one saving grace for pride from his kids, I guess.
Yeah, I see.
Which is sad. That's pretty sad, but.
As a Canadian, I am not as affected when, especially, and you see a lot of action movies for some reason, when they try and get that, you always can recognize the military drum roll, and that sort of patriotic speech where we're all going to line up and we're going to defend Mother Country. It's not that I'm not a patriotic Canadian, you know, but I it's not for me. And so as a result, that whole Independence Day angle of the movie lacks the punch for me that maybe it would for a rah-rah America.
It really does for me as well.
So what I'm saying is, I'm not saying don't watch Independence Day, but I'm saying watch it knowing that it's loud and stupid. And if you can go into Independence Day knowing that I'm sitting down to watch something loud and stupid, you'll be fine. But if you have any kind of analytical mind, you know, it's going to be a bit of a hard watch.
Yeah, it's kind of like they have all this science fiction action stuff, and like I said, action for action's sake. And then they're like, well, this movie kind of lacks substance, so let's put in this and this and this and this and smash it all together, and we have a movie.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, funnily enough, and sadly enough, it was a blockbuster.
It was beyond
massive
blockbuster. It was
blockbuster.
like the highest grossing film of the year.
Yeah. Sad.
Yeah, pretty spectacle. To go on in defense of my chastising of Roland Emmerich, I'm just going to go over a list of the movies he did subsequent to Independence Day.
Judd Hirsch was in this, though, and he's awesome.
As a director, I believe his follow-up movie was Godzilla, starring Matthew Broderick, which was terrible.
Super terrible.
The Patriot, starring Mel Gibson, which is past terrible.
Haven't seen it.
The Day After Tomorrow with Jake Gyllenhaal, 10,000 BC, 2012, Anonymous, and most recently White House Down. Maybe he hasn't made as many dumb movies as Michael Bay, but they're all like these $150, $200 million movies that are dumb.
Okay, but I see on the list that Stargate...
Yes, he's doing a remake of Stargate.
The only good Stargate, I hope? Stargate Universe?
Yeah. Actually,
the only good Stargate. I don't care whatever you people say. It's the only good Stargate.
One of his early movies before he broke with Independence Day was, of course, Stargate. A lot of people love that movie. I don't get it.
I adored that movie. That's one of my all-time favorite movies, except for Kurt Russell.
Right.
Fucking hate him.
Yeah. Well,
I would kick that motherfucker down the street.
Well, you're not
Pardon
going to
my
enjoy
language.
my John Carpenter episode at all. And yes, Universal Soldier. I since I've mentioned them all, of course, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren together at last in Universal Soldier. Anyway, that's just my little. I'm just putting it out there. This is not a defense of Michael Bay, but in all of your ridicule of Michael Bay, save some for Roland Emmerich. That's just me putting that out there.
Right.
It doesn't have a lot to do with Independence Day, I know, but I just wanted to get it off my chest.
That's funny.
Is there anything that you wanted to say else about Independence Day? I feel like I was simultaneously mean and generous with this movie, but...
I mean, if you don't care if your movies have any substance and you just want some sometimes cool action, see Independence Day.
And shame on them, wag a finger, for utterly not using Mary McDonnell in the movie. She's the second lady.
Yeah.
And
done soon.
She had nothing to do.
Yeah.
There's so many times that Mary McDonnell's in a movie and they don't give her anything to do, and it just...
Same make.
These were taken at the West Highland Police Station, 1984. You were there.
Same model.
These were taken today.
You have to let me see my son. He's in great danger.
New mission. Once, he was programmed to destroy the future.
You don't know what it's like to try to kill one of these things.
Now, his mission...
Get down.
...is to protect it.
Come with me if you want to live.
You're really real.
His loyalty is to a child.
Who sent you?
You did. 35 years from now.
And his enemy...
He's a Terminator like you, right?
Not like me.
...is the deadliest machine ever built.
Can it be destroyed?
Unknown.
We're back to the Arnold Schwarzenegger and Terminator 2 Judgment Day. That's my half-assed Arnold Schwarzenegger. I recently reviewed with my friend Paxton Francis The Terminator, and quite favorably. I actually think that as a screenplay, The Terminator might be one of the better things that Jim Cameron ever produced. In 1992, the sequel, Terminator 2 Judgment Day, hits the theaters. And as much as there had been movies with computer effects before this, young Sherlock Holmes had the first fully rendered computer character, and The Abyss did interesting things with the water tentacles. Mm-hmm. Terminator 2 is kind of the movie that said, computer animation has arrived, and by the way, we can do fucking anything.
With Liquid Man?
Yeah. And that's
awesome.
mainly within the creation of T2. The second Terminator, who is made of liquid metal and can make himself look like anyone he has encountered, and also with any kind of sharp stabbing weapon he tends to need at any given moment. Years have passed. Sarah has given birth to young John Connor, and once again, an evil Terminator has been dispatched to execute John Connor himself.
Yep.
And just like last time, a lone savior is sent back. But this time, instead of sending a human, they try and send a more matched opponent. And a Terminator is sent back that is programmed to protect.
The Terminator that tried to kill him the first, or to kill Mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
So John Connor, who believes his mom to be an insane person who raised him under, her own schizophrenia, is sort of a troubled juvenile delinquent. And when he first encounters Arnold Schwarzenegger, is horrified, justifiably.
Yeah.
And it turns out the person that he really needs to fear is an even more advanced Terminator that likes to take the guise of a police officer. And the movie becomes... The first half is largely a long escape and chase sequence.
Yep.
And the second half is our characters puzzling out not just how to survive this evil Terminator, but how to possibly prevent the end of the world, more or less. Or
to change future.
To change the coming apocalypse.
Yeah.
High stakes.
Quite.
James Cameron, who had done the sequel to Alien, Aliens, introduced the world to Ripley. And from her, strong female characters, especially in horror and science fiction, became mainstay. And hurrah for that.
Yeah.
I think that Linda Hamilton's character, Sarah Connor,
kicks ass.
Could probably beat Ripley up in a fight.
Linda Hamilton? Yeah, I agree. Like that, her defining role, basically. Yeah.
And so different from the Sarah Connor that we saw in the first movie. In the first movie, she was the blonde, fluffy-haired 80s girl who needed to be rescued repeatedly and who defeated her adversary as much due to luck as skill. The creature happens to be crawling towards her in a gigantic hydraulic press, and she presses the button.
Right.
Now, she's been... put in this mental institution, and she's completely buffed up. She knows how to fire any gun. She knows several different ways of hand-to-hand combat, and she is badass. And in the process of badassing herself, she has utterly destroyed her relationship with her son, who she's dedicated her life to protecting.
Yeah,
I think that's a very interesting dynamic. And it's a little more awkward, but also kind of interesting that this Terminator becomes a faux father figure to John.
Yeah.
For a big budget action movie, there's a lot more going on than you'd come to expect. It came out when I was in high school. I had a birthday party that centered around a screening of Terminator 2. Nice. And I am unabashedly a fan, and I am not ashamed to say
There you go.
But what do you think of Terminator 2?
Well, I actually texted Larry and said, yeah, Terminator 2 is kind of a bad movie. But, I mean, it's... I can't really say where my ranking is on this one quite yet. But it had some really amazingly cool things, like the liquid guy.
Yeah.
He was...
Robert Patrick,
awesome. Yeah. And, yeah, I think that was probably, again, one of his better roles, but... And I'm judging only from his time on the X-Files.
Yes.
So,
but whenever you see Robert Patrick, it's
you think
Terminator.
of Terminator.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, there was some really mind quirky bits.
Mind quirky bits.
Yeah, and one thing that I wanted to ask you, which right at the beginning when Arnold is naked and he's like going to steal the clothes from that biker guy.
Correct.
And you notice he scans and he like registers pants and jacket and top and underwear.
Mm-hmm.
Does he take the underwear too?
Presumably.
That's
He's
gross.
a machine. He doesn't see gross.
Yeah.
He
Okay,
just
I'm
was
thinking
looking for
human sense. Yeah.
He's looking for somebody who's roughly his size. He was
That's
just
true.
seeing to see if those clothes would fit on him. That's
I know,
how
but the
read it.
underwear kind of disturbed me a little bit. And I'm like, that's so unclean.
But I like that in that scene he was still more or less a Terminator. His job was to find and protect John Connor, but all of these people he would happily kill. Like it would mean nothing to him.
Yeah.
And we sort of see through the progress of the movie that he does weirdly bond with John Connor, and
he does,
he understands in a cold, logical way what the right thing is to do, even if that right thing is self-destruct, right?
Yes. But I mean, that could have just been his, like, John Connor of the future sending him back, saying, if you succeed in this, you will have to terminate yourself in order to
you
put
think that
an
was
end to
programmed
everything.
into his orders, maybe?
It could have been. I mean...
The way I read it is that it, like, even in the extended director's cut of this, he turns on a learning chip in the head of the Terminator, right? So it is learning, and he has to follow John's orders, and he learns from John how to behave. He learns that he can't kill people, but it's okay to cripple them. It's great. Yeah.
That's funny.
But it's interesting for the amount of gunfire in this movie, and it is fairly violent.
Yeah.
Comparatively, it's actually tame. There's a few bloody, like, stabbing deaths from the T2, but considering that they are stabs, most of them are fairly bloodless. There's a pretty grim one. The security guard in Sarah's mental institution dies pretty bad. For a PG movie, that was pretty ugly.
And then you get the little shot of the claymation face going again in that scene, but...
Another thing that I think has been unsung about this movie, I mean, everybody remembers the CG in it, but a lot of it wasn't CG. Every second of computer animation in this movie was incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
So since the deeper into the technology they get, the cheaper and easier it is to do it. And at this time, every frame was costing a lot of money. So a lot of the times, Stan Winston was on set. And so if, there's a robot thing underneath the skin, that was prosthetic effects. The metallic arms that he wields are not added into the computer, which you would assume nowadays. He was wearing those. Those were very convincing prosthetics over his arms. And a lot of stuff that you assume in this movie is CG isn't. And I kind of dig that. It's right on that sort of middle ground of the technology where they were meeting in the middle, which is where you should. I don't think if you go all CG, I don't believe you. No. And if you go all practical effects, there's usually some rough edges there. But if you meet in the middle, and this sort of movie said, like I said earlier, we can do anything with this technology, and that was exciting to me.
Again, Linda Hamilton, excellent acting job in this, I thought. Edward Furlong, he had moments of really good and moments of not so good, but tragic what happened to old Eddie. He went super downhill after this.
I'm not going to be hard on him in this movie because he was picked. He was the 13-year-old kid that they picked out of thousands to be in this movie, and the pressure put on him to it would have been a wonderful and horrifying experience. Where I will give him shit is that 2 decades later, he has not improved at all.
No.
No. That's mean, but I also think it's just a statement of fact.
One thing that I will say that I thoroughly loved about this movie was closer to the end when you get when the liquid Terminator gets hit with the liquid nitrogen, and then he solidifies again after being smashy. But then the change in structure. So it's like when he takes a step, he kind of melts into the floor and takes on the attributes of whatever he's standing on. I thought that was awesome.
That really kind of fucked him up for a second. Being frozen and then thawed out kind of made him glitchy for a little while. It was a nice touch.
Yeah, it was a very nice touch.
I think that there is a few things that are perhaps contrivances, and you'd argue that this could be contrivance in the first movie too, and that they end up in a final battle in one of the few environments in which the T2 might be able to be killed.
By coincidence.
Right? Much like the first one, the hydraulic press, one of the only things that probably Cameron could think of that was capable of defeating the adversary. That's where they end up for the fight. In this one, it's a pit of molten metal, and he gets melted in that. It's just very convenient that that's where that car chase ends up leading them to. But it's also very entertaining.
It is. Ooh, yeah. Also, when he's finally in the molten molten metal, and you see every iteration of human face that he's donned since
scanning through.
That was pretty cool. I like that.
We've been talking about this movie for a while now, and so far pretty much everything you said has been positive.
I know. I think I was in a mood that day.
I'm curious what's rubbing you the wrong way.
No, I don't think it's a super fantastic movie. I don't think it's a horrid movie. I don't know. Maybe it's just not my thing. I just, I don't know. And honestly, the one-liners freaking make me so angry. And the Arnold's most famous one-liner is from this movie. Hasta la vista, baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
I definitely say one-liners, as they've been celebrated or called in the 80s, are sort of things that announce, this is a movie! And sort of take you out of it for a second. But in a way, a big-budget action movie starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, the one-liners were expected. I'm
Sure.
not saying they were necessary, but they were expected, and they didn't spoil the soup for me, you know.
But he's a robot.
Yeah. Well, he was taught "Hasta la vista, baby."
By
right?
who?
By
Did I
Edward
miss that?
Edward Furlong, yeah.
I totally missed that
Yeah,
part.
he tells him, if
Oh,
you really
shit.
want to shine it on with someone, tell them "Hasta la vista, baby."
Oh shit! Totally missed that part.
But it's still a cheesy one-liner.
Yeah.
It was set up and knocked down in that way.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, that the first Terminator is probably a more perfect screenplay.
Yeah.
There are sort of like excursions that this movie takes. It's maybe a little bit longer than it needs to be. But when shit goes down, I feel it. Joe Morton's character, the scientist who ends up inadvertently being responsible.
Oh Jesus! Yeah.
He's
That was
inadvertently
sad.
responsible for causing the end of the world and is told this. And
Yeah.
he believes it.
Yeah.
And he owns it. Like, he does everything he can to stop it.
Yeah.
And you know, he didn't mean to be this force of evil. It
Best
just
intentions.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
he tries like hell to fix it, and he has a kind of horrible death.
Yeah.
And you know that he has a wife and kid at home that loves him and that his intentions were pure, and when he blows up, it's like, that sucks.
Yeah.
And there's so many movies where people are being mowed down left and center, and I'm like, meh, you know? That was a good performance, that was a good character, and we
Really
felt
good.
it. We felt it when he died, and I miss that. Like, I didn't like. We talked about The Fifth Element.
Yeah.
It was kind of sad when that opera singer died, right? But did you feel anything?
Not really.
No.
Yeah. No.
I like early era James Cameron, and for me, in a way, Terminator 2 kind of shuts the door on the best age of Jim Cameron. After this, we get into True Lies and Titanic and Avatar, and it's too bad because he's a very, very capable filmmaker, but compared to Aliens and The Abyss and Terminator 2, he's actually, with his raising budgets and raising technology,
He's
has
lost
been
the
making
raw.
less and less good movies.
Yeah. It's the.
That's one of the reasons I
Yeah.
love Terminator 2, because James Cameron, it was still a time where I could be really excited about the next James Cameron movie. You
Nice.
know.
Very nice.
Anything else you want to say about Terminator 2?
Watchable.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I don't know.
I don't know if you
I
made
don't
your
know.
case, girl. I don't know if you made your case on this one, but different strokes for different folks. I mean, I've seen movies that people have loved, and they've just not affected me. And like you say,
Yeah.
sometimes on a different day it'll catch you.
Mhm.
But I think that the public opinion's with me on this one, but public opinion is against me on a lot of other.
There you go.
So
There you go.
I don't think we're gonna have any big fights over this, are we?
Nope. I didn't hate it. I mean, I didn't overly love it, but yeah, it was a good watch. It was entertaining, and yeah, like I said, from a scientific bent, they did some very cool things and things that actually make sense. Yeah.
So that's 6 science fiction movies reviewed.
Indeed
And
it
now
is.
is the time where we rank these sons of guns.
Yes.
And as usual, my guest, Karen Giese, is going to go first.
Thank you,
I'm
thank you.
excited. What was your least favorite of these 6 movies, and why?
My least favorite was Independence Day. And basically, for everything that we talked about and bitched about this movie, it was all glam with trying to be substancy stuff shoved in there and mishmashed all around and swirled a little bit, and none of it really worked for me. And quite honestly, I didn't relate to any of the characters. Again, Judd Hirsch, he's awesome. He was like...
He was sort of playing the Jewy Menchie dude.
He
like,
was,
you
like,
know.
he was, yeah, what your stereotypical Jewish fatherly, grandfatherly, which I actually know some Jewish grandfathers, and they are very much like Judd
Yeah.
Hirsch. It's actually kind of funny.
I'm not saying it's necessarily a stereotype. I'm just saying he didn't break any new ground with that. It
No,
was
he
not an
didn't.
amazing...
No,
like,
he didn't.
Wow, he really transformed himself. You know?
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I didn't... I just didn't think it was a fantastic movie. If you want action, sure, watch the movie. Not my favorite. I paused it many times and took many breaks, and
Right.
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
fair
Okay.
enough.
So I guess 5th, second from the bottom, is Fifth Element.
That seems to make sense, doesn't it?
It does make sense.
It fits like a glove.
It's destined to be fifth. Again, beautiful scenery, absolutely stunning what they did visually. The rest of it, again, this is none of the characters really called to me. Same as Larry was saying, I didn't really care when any of them died. So, yeah. And the aliens, man, they could have done a whole lot better with those, and just a lot of flaws in that movie, I thought. What I will rank fourth is Terminator 2. Fourth? Yeah, fourth. And that's mostly because of Terminator 2 himself.
Arnold? You're not an Arnold man?
I'm not really an Arnold person in this movie, maybe. But who's the guy that played?
Robert Patrick.
Robert Patrick.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was great. And I loved, and probably because I have an analytical type brain, what they did with the liquid nitrogen, because altering Terminator 2 on a molecular level was awesome. Was a fantastic way to go
and
with his demise.
Changing so rapidly from being frozen solid to being boiling hot in a matter of seconds. It just jams up the works.
Absolutely jams it up. Yeah. Okay, so what I put third was War of the Worlds. Okay. There were so many things about this movie that I really, really liked, which we will get into with our possible juries.
All right.
Yeah, it's and like I said, Tom Cruise, that was probably one of his better roles, I thought. More suiting to how I picture him in real life, I guess. It's kind of a douche.
I guess that's right. I wouldn't say he disappeared into it, but I like that he was playing an everyman. Like, he was just a dude who had a job and had kids that he loved. You know, he was not a superhero. I like that.
And I also really liked that it wasn't humans that won the day. Yeah. It was the Earth. It was circumstance, but it was like the Earth fighting back, and which kind of sounds kind of shitty because the Earth fighting for humans. I doubt the Earth would do that because we kind of suck on mass. But War of the Worlds, I think it's well worth the watch. Second is Total Recall. And as Larry put it, I had a smile on my face for most of this movie. It's, there's some cheesy bits, things definitely outdated. Yeah. Again, some like crappy ass one-liners, but I really enjoyed this movie. Yeah. And I also enjoyed the, comparing that society to our society, which I found very mirrored in a lot of ways. And of course, my number one pick, without a doubt, and I knew this pretty much going into it, that it is Serenity, because it's just awesome. Yeah. Best movie. Love it. Yeah. Done.
Well, we're not matching.
We're not matching. Damn it.
We're not matching at all. I'm sorry, sweetie.
Larry.
For the most part, I like these movies, but our list is pretty different. I'm not gonna lie.
Really?
So let's
I thought we were gonna be good.
I just want us to stay friends. This is
Fine.
all I want.
Friends. Whatever.
I actually put, even though it made sense to put The Fifth Element in fifth place, I put it at the bottom.
Really?
Because if I had to sit down and honestly choose which one I would want to rewatch, if I had to rewatch one of these right now, and it was Independence Day or The Fifth Element, I'm going to watch Jeff Goldblum, and Will Smith do that hilarious strut away from the wreckage, smoking their cigar, saying, "We killed the aliens, God bless America." Yeah. And the fact that I will take that over The Fifth Element tells you how much I think it deserves to be at the bottom of the list.
Yes, it does. It does. Wow.
But in fifth place is where Independence Day doesn't land. Okay. It is big and dumb and loud. And I think it knows that it's big and dumb and loud. Okay. And I think to an increasing degree, his subsequent films don't. Okay.
You're not a fan of the man.
I'm not a fan of the director, and maybe that is some baggage that I take into it. But when I first saw this movie, I was paying attention that this was from the director of Universal Soldier. Yeah. Maybe I would have seen it in a different light if that was the case. But anyway, It's if you a turn your brain off movie. If you're,
Okay.
I want to watch something that is not going to challenge me at all. Independence Day is there for you.
Okay.
In fourth place is where I actually put War of the Worlds, believe it or not. I know.
You sicken me, Larry.
I sicken you. Again, there's the built-in anticlimax, which, as I said, comes right from the book. It's interesting, but as a story, not very satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're there and then they're not.
Yeah.
And we rebuild. Credits.
Okay.
But what does work for the movie is Steven Spielberg and these really amazing special effects sequences. Again, I think we disagreed that once they got bared down into the more psychological stuff, I actually started to miss the action movie I had. And then maybe it was just an extra added ingredient that maybe the movie didn't need. Okay. But I figured they're spending $150 million or whatever making the movie. It's got to be at least 2 hours long, so they padded it up. That's the way it felt to me.
Okay.
Again, it's a good time, and there's a lot more to it than there is to Independence Day.
Yeah.
So, War of the Worlds.
Okay.
In third place.
Okay.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. Total Recall.
Okay.
It's weird. It's so strange to me that they remade this movie like last year and failed to improve on it in any way. Because watching it does feel kind of rough-hewn. Yeah. But like I say, I was amused. I am amused. I like... And it's a hard R. It's an old-fashioned movie in that way. They don't make them like this anymore. No. And maybe that's a good thing.
Maybe. I don't know.
Total Recall. There it is.
Yep.
Okay. But you were a little mad at me before, but this is the part where it gets real.
Get out. Are you kidding me?
Second place. I am going to put Serenity.
You are really putting our friendship to the test here, Larry.
I knew this was going to be a problem. Here's the thing.
I'm shocked.
You're going to be okay?
I'm speechless. What the hell?
I love the shit out of Serenity, and I think if you listen to our review, you will know that this is to be true. I could make up flaws about this movie, like I said, about the end of the Reavers, but I really don't care that much. I love the movie. I had a lot invested into it. I think it's a movie that's reliant on the series. Without it, it doesn't stand as alone by itself. And it's not as much as a game changer of a science fiction movie and as a technological achievement as Terminator 2 was.
You should see the look on my face right now. It's
I'm
pure disgust.
I'm a little bit scared. It was tough. It wasn't an easy thing for me, but I put it in second place. I love the shit out of Serenity. I love the shit out of it.
But you love that one more.
I think that, I don't know, you're just so upset, I know. Serenity is like a great action-adventure, romp. Mm-hmm. Terminator 2 is a great action-adventure romp, and it's science fiction. There is a science fiction element to it.
Sure.
There are one-liners to this, but for someone to complain about one-liners, Firefly and Serenity are fucking littered with one-liners.
But they're funny ones.
They're
glib.
Yeah.
And that's just stupid.
They're more contemporary to our sense of humor, and we have more of a collection, or a personal history with all of the characters.
Wit? Word vomit.
Wit,
as I point to Serenity.
Wit. Serenity. Word vomit.
Word vomit.
Terminator
And Terminator 2.
Well, I could go on and trying to defend Terminator 2, but I feel like I would just continue to dig myself deeper and deeper into the hole.
Wow.
James Cameron, it's the end of a great era. I won't even say that I think it's his best film. That's even more controversial. But I think if we're comparing sci-fi movies, I'll be honest with you. Okay. In the history of with all of these movies, if at the end of my life I had somehow a chart of which movie I watched more than the last, Serenity is probably going to top the list as the one that gets rewatched more than the others. But I think if I'm being real, T2 is just the better movie.
You're wrong.
I'm wrong. It's the fourth best of these movies.
It's the fourth best movie.
You came in so confident that
I did. I'm shocked. Holy hell.
I love you, K2. Please don't be mad at me.
Fine.
You're still the champion.
I'm still the champion, damn it.
You're still the champion.
That's right.
So in all of my excitement in defending my controversial decision of placing Serenity in second place, I failed to actually notice right away that we actually went 0 for 6 today.
0 for 6.
You came in so confident that you were going to be like doubling down on your victory.
I really did.
And,
I really did.
I don't know, like this, you're getting a prize. It's kind of like you've won and now you've had an anti-win, but you're still the champion because there is no other champions. Like
it is true.
It's
hear that, Matt Riesling?
Dun dun dun. So before we get the Jerry's underway, I'm going to present you with a formal gift.
Woo!
I know how much you enjoy zombie movies.
I do.
And I know how much you enjoy really puppety things.
Oh no, Larry! What did you do?
Here is this motion picture called Beyond Reanimator. The interesting thing is that this is a screener copy. It's technically illegal to be sold. You can't really... It's kind of like, once I give it to you, it sort of becomes your problem.
Thanks for the legal troubles.
Yeah,
awesome.
Technically we're not supposed to be owning or this, but it is very interesting, cool special effects. You would be able to witness a rat running away with a man's penis.
Intriguing.
Intrigued. So this is Beyond Reanimator screener, and that's what you've won today for going 0 for 6.
I have no words, Larry.
It's your problem now. It's your problem.
That is hilarious.
I have a proper copy of Beyond Reanimator. I respect the copyright.
There you go. But you're forcing me to not respect the copyright.
Well, it would be illegal for me to sell it to you.
It's true.
So.
Yeah. And I just want to say, Matt, I now have the super win and the super loss. Beat that.
Well, now he's up for the challenge. I know it. He's in his big shitty right now, watching movies and figuring out just exactly how they're gonna rank just to please me.
But I do have to say that, Matt, you're a man of honor.
Yes.
In using your own list as opposed to the identical "What would Larry pick" list.
Yeah, it's true. We've had a couple close calls that way.
Yep.
Anyway, to the Jerry's.
To the Jerry's.
Geez, well, I guess just out of the ether, out of the air.
Yes.
Some death. There's a lot of deaths in these many things.
There's a lot of death.
Do you wanna try to arrive at a consensus on best death? I mean, there's the worst death and most traumatizing death. We know that.
Yes.
But does that count as best death?
Okay, what are your noms?
Certainly a nomination for Wash.
Oh my god.
Because it's just like, Wash, dude.
I had a little tear in my eye when Wash died.
I've seen the movie so many times.
I know.
Every single time it pisses me off.
Every time. I know.
So yeah, I would definitely nominate Wash.
Yeah.
Michael Ironside has a memorable death in Total Recall. His arms get pinched off in the elevator.
Michael Ironside. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Good times.
If there was a way to go.
I remember liking / being disturbed by when I was a kid in Terminator 2, when the Terminator's taken the form of his step-parents, and his stepmother spears the stepfather through the head against the wall while he's drinking milk.
I think you're thinking of the... No! I know exactly! Sorry. I've kind of blocked that movie out.
Because you loved it so much.
I loved it so much, yeah. It still made my top ones, kind of.
Yeah.
Not the bottom.
Anyway, I thought that was a memorable death. Of course, we have the opera singer in The Fifth Element.
Yes.
They try and milk some emotional rings out of that, even though we didn't know the character really before she sang.
It's true.
She showed up, she sang, she died.
It was a great song, though.
Nice song.
Nice song.
Am I missing some obvious best deaths here?
Are we counting the Terminator death?
Yeah, sure.
The liquid metal
died.
Terminator,
yeah.
As he morphed into every iteration that he had been throughout the movie.
Yeah.
That was kind of cool. Terminator 2 again. The science guy.
Oh, Joe Morton's character. He gets blown up real good.
Yeah.
It's interesting for all the death in Independence Day and War of the Worlds that we can't really arrive on one for either of those movies because we don't care about anybody who dies in those movies.
Not really, yeah.
All right. Well, who's gonna get it? Is that going to Wash or?
Most impactful death, I would definitely say Wash.
Yeah, but best death?
Coolest death, the Terminator 2.
Terminator.
The liquid guy.
Okay.
That was pretty freaking cool.
Some controversial split decision, Ty Jerry.
It is Ty Jerry. Tie-dye Jerry.
Okay, performances? Okay. Any performances that were standing out for you? I mean, I love everybody in Firefly or Serenity. The entire cast is gorgeous, but Chiwetel Ejiofor, is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
As the villain, I thought he was really awesome.
He was really awesome.
And I don't know if we really discussed it much in the review, but I thought it was awesome that they didn't kill him either.
As did I.
He was left alive and utterly defeated.
But yeah, like what kind of I don't know, I think that would be kind of difficult to play somebody with no emotional attachment. It's just business.
Right.
That is it. Yeah. I like Chiwetel.
What about Mila Jovovich? No. Her baby talking her way through that Fifth Element movie.
Best performance? No. Sorry, Mila.
Linda Hamilton's pretty badass in that awesome Terminator movie.
She is pretty badass. Yeah. Okay, and I will also nominate Tom Cruise for War of the Worlds.
Okay.
Again, because I said it before that I thought that character actually suited him fairly well.
Yeah.
Or at least he was very convincing in the role as, kind of a dick and
Tim Robbins was a pretty good crazy person in that movie
Robbins
as well.
Was good.
I guess since we're there, Dakota Fanning, young Missy, emotes a lot.
She really does emote a lot, and with those eyeballs at that age, and like the quivery eyeballs and the quivery lips, that was pretty good. Yeah.
But do you have a best performance for this group of 6 movies, do you think, then?
I go for Serenity again.
Yes.
Chiwetel. Yeah, I think he's great. He really is like a super freaking good actor.
What the fuck moments? WTF moments?
Okay, and is it what the fuck as in like that's just messed up, or like kind of?
I think it's flexible.
Okay.
Like for me, their faces almost popping out of their skulls in Total Recall, but then everything being okay because the atmosphere rights itself is kind of what the fuck.
Sure.
Right. But I also think that the whole emerging of Guato erupting from that dude's abdomen to give out his wisdom. I always thought that was really crazy. There's a lot of crazy shit. There's
a lot of crazy shit.
Like, what about pulling the sensor out of his brain through his nose? I don't know. Cumulatively, what the fuck seems to go to Total Recall, but I'm sure there's more of them missing.
Yeah, and those what the fucks are kind of the, like, funny what the fucks.
Right.
Yeah, whereas the what the fuck I had... Or though I can reserve that for most shocking moment.
Okay.
So yeah, other what the fucks.
There's a lot of weirdness just generally in the Fifth Element. Like Gary Oldman. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Chris Tucker.
The plate on his his face.
Yeah.
What the hell? Yeah.
I believe at one point Bruce Willis leaves a bunch of military personnel locked in the freezer inside his apartment.
Yes, and then they freeze, and you assume they're dead, but then they're in the movie later.
Then later on they show up. Somehow they must have gotten out of that predicament.
Which I don't really understand how.
That movie's fake.
That movie's totally fake. What the hell is that?
From the character point of view, I think that when the tripods first erupt from the ground and start beaming people into these dust.
Yeah.
And as he's running away, all that dust is collecting him. It would be a pretty what the fuck moment for that.
Okay, then I will, since you put that in, then I will add back my what the fuck moment and say all the clothes raining down after the tripods like suck the people up. And then you just see clothes raining.
Yeah.
That is my top what the fuck moment because that was disturbing as all hell. So let's do then just in case best villain and best alien.
Best villain and best alien.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we've already talked about Chiwetel Ejiofor. So how about we move away from that and look at the Reavers just generally?
Okay.
because for me, those are nice sort of space zombies.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan.
I'm a huge freaking fan.
And they're terrifying, and I don't want to be anywhere near them.
They're super terrifying, right? And I think, like, yeah, one of the most terrifying things about them is the fact that they once were just like us.
Yeah.
And then other people just like us fucked with them.
Yeah.
And now they're like that.
They're beyond slightly chemically imbalanced.
Holy
they
crap.
are just
Yeah.
self-mutilating murder
freaking wicked.
machines.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bleh. So yeah, those are some pretty good villains.
Yeah.
I keep forgetting the name of the alien race in The Fifth Element, but you know, the puppet guys.
Yeah, the big guys at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. The like super puppets on roids, kind of.
Yep.
Yeah, those guys.
And then there's those, I guess they weren't villains though, those weird elephant-looking guys who could barely walk.
Yeah, the robots at the beginning.
Yeah. But they were kind of good guys. I don't know, I found the aliens in Independence Day kind of bland.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. They didn't reinvent the wheel with that one particularly.
Not really. I mean, yeah, no. There's really nothing good to say about that movie.
And really, the most evil guys in the Total Recall are,
humans.
Human beings. Michael Ironside, I guess. Sharon Stone's pretty duplicitous.
Yeah.
There's.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Judo definitely stands out, but
Totally.
He's already got an award, so...
You can have another.
You want to give him two? You want to double down on the Jerrys, or should we give the Reavers an award?
Oh, yeah. Okay, fine. Good point.
Hey, this is yours.
Yeah.
Don't let me put these... I don't want to...
How about we umbrella it and say Serenity.
Serenity wins for Best Villain.
Best Villain. Yeah.
Well played.
On two fronts. I know. I can do that.
And we didn't even mention the evil Terminator from Terminator 2.
No, that's true.
He was pretty badass, but I think I would side with you, the Reavers.
Yeah.
Cumulatively more bad news. At least if the T2 catches me, he's just going to spear me through my face, and I'll be dead. The Reavers are going to make a hood ornament out of my skin and
after
rape
they have
me to
playtime
death.
with Larry.
Yes, they will rape Larry
exactly.
to death.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound like a good thing.
Yeah, probably not. Not
we're
a great
working
experience.
against that.
Yeah. All right. So best alien then.
No, best alien, or that,
or I guess we kind of
covered that with best villain. That.
Oh, we didn't include the tripods in those.
Were they the best though?
No, they weren't the best.
Yeah, I thought they were kind of lame sauce, to be honest. I mean, just from a practical design standpoint, I don't know why tripods. Just seems weird to me.
Better footing.
Really?
On rough ground.
I think that 2 or 4 would be better than 3 somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's a great point.
What do I know? I'm not Mr. Science dude, but it just seemed like yeah.
Yeah. All right, and more Jerry's.
Well, this is all you get.
All right, I think we're good.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, you did not double down on the championship this time.
But I kind of did.
But you are now a 2-time award winning.
I am a 2-time award winner, Matt Risley.
Yeah, so I don't know to call you like a contestant or guest or whatever. It's not a game show.
That's right. That's funny. But I dare anybody to beat that.
Well,
seriously.
Whoever has at least 2 episodes of hard work ahead of them.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, K2.
My pleasure.
Oh, K2, Karen, it was not to be. You were so sure that this was going to be the episode where you would solidify your reign. But still, Karen Giese is still our champion at Rank and Review. Please send feedback to rankandreview@gmail.com, and feel free to seek us out on Facebook and on iTunes. And if you were to leave a 4-star review and even just a 1 or 2 sentence review, it really helps people find the show on iTunes. And if you take the few seconds to find us on Facebook and hit that like button, it's really good for Larry's morale. Thank you guys for supporting Rank and Review, and I hope you keep listening.